I'm delighted to be joined now by Andrea Jenkyns. She's the former Education Minister and Conservative MP for Morley and Outward. And if you don't mind me saying, Andrea, if I may call you that, quite a big Rishi Sunak critic. You're one of, I think, only Tory MPs to have admitted submitting letters of no confidence. Is that the wisest idea? We just had Martin Townsend talking on the papers about it being sort of turkeys voting for Christmas. How will it help at this late stage to replace the Prime Minister?
I mean, I gave it a lot of thought back in November when I submitted it, and what you see is what you get with me, Camilla.
Sure.
And I believed in going public about that. And I think that it is less chancellery. We've seen the polls. We've seen how things are difficult for the party. It's like one of the lowest polls. We're just hemorrhaging votes and we're not cutting through to the electorate. So I think less chancellery. What have we got to lose, Camilla?
I mean, the election, people could argue, because I think there was some polling in the week to suggest that actually Conservative voters are more likely to vote for Rishi Sunak than any of the other candidates. I appreciate other polls have differed. There was one which said that Penny Mordaunt might be better, but you wouldn't be supportive of Penny Mordaunt because she's a One Nation Tory, right?
Well, the thing is about the polling, though, it depends how many the sample was. I mean, did you see the big Lady McAlpine one? That was 13,500, and that put Boris top. I think Penny was second, and but it did put a lot of the centre-right of the party towards the top. So,
how many letters do you think have been submitted?
I mean, look, let's face it, Graham Brady's the only one that knows. But I mean, when I last calculated, because people, since I put my letter in, lots of people coming up to me telling me, "Oh, we've done the same. Well done on you." And I got, in my count of people telling me, that was over 30. But this was weeks ago, so I think we must be nearer to 40 now.
And then it could be that you accidentally trigger a no confidence vote, and then the vote itself, even if he wins it, could be sort of fatal, because when a Prime Minister is challenged this close to a general election, of course you have to replace. But do you not understand the notion of the criticisms around, too much regicide, that at the end of the day, you're in a desperately difficult situation, but that changing leader now will be just catastrophic? And look,
the thing I want most of all is us to be more conservative. I mean, we're not cutting through in the red wall seats like mine. And we need more common sense conservative policies. I mean, some of the things in the budget, £1 million for a monument when people are struggling. That's
what do you mean, the monument to the Muslim soldiers?
Yes, but I think spending £1 million full stop on a monument when people are struggling, I don't think that's necessarily the best use of taxpayers' money.
But who would you have instead then? Because there's lots of talk about different candidates sort of jockeying for position. We've discussed Penny Mordaunt. You wouldn't want to see her leading the party, I take it?
I mean, look, Penny, I know Penny. She's a lovely lady. We've just got completely different politics.
You don't think she's conservative enough?
I'd like to see somebody who's more conservative, definitely.
OK, so Suella Braverman then?
I like Suella, I like Pretty, I like Jacob.
Jacob to run the party?
Yeah, I mean,
do you think Jacob's electable as a Prime Minister? Do you think
he goes down quite well in my area. I mean,
does he go down well with kind of working class people in the Red Wall?
Well, all I can give an example is he came up to my St George's Day. We have thousands and thousands of people attending it, and people just running up to him asking for his autograph. But I mean,
I know, but there's a difference to be kind of famous than to be admired and respected as a Prime Minister.
No, but I mean, I'd bring Boris back tomorrow, Camilla. He's still been top in the polls.
Well, are you in communication with Boris? What's Boris thinking right now? Does he want to come back?
I mean, I'm not going to divulge private conversations, but no. I mean, Boris and Carrie are friends. I've got a lot of respect for them.
OK, so you're in regular contact with Boris?
I am in contact with them.
OK,
recently,
and what do we think his thinking is around coming back and at least campaigning in the general election? I
mean, regarding the campaigning, I mean, the stuff that was got put out there, it certainly would. I mean, the fact is, I know that Boris and Rishi haven't spoken for over a year, so Boris has not been party to any of these conversations. OK, but there was a talk, I think somebody had suggested that Boris would be amenable to coming back and campaigning, but Rishi needed to call him first. Well, I think you need to ask Boris that, Camilla. But you want to see him, if he were to come back and lead the party, how could that feasibly happen? I mean, I wrote a piece a couple of weeks ago about a sort of trying to take Henley back. Could he run in Henley? Where could he run? How could it work? I mean, it'd have to get past CCHQ, wouldn't he? And would he? Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be pretty awful if they didn't allow a former Prime Minister to stand. But that's what he'd have to do. But the most important thing to me, I want to see common sense politics. I want to see us roll back on net zero. I mean, the millions of pounds of spending on that, I just think is ridiculous. People are struggling and they don't want to see these vanity projects.
When you talked earlier, you mentioned St George's Day. What's your reaction to the FA and Nike and this flag on the back of the shirt? James Cleverly today has said that people should boycott this shirt, which, by the way, costs a huge amount of money. I think it's £125 to £27. But what do you think about it not being red and white?
I think it's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, it's different if it's on people's logos and things like this, but when it's, our sports team, it should be the proper England flag.
Should the shirt be pulled then? Should we have a different shirt with the proper flag on it?
I think, fair play what the Foreign Secretary said, vote with your feet.
Yeah.
Just don't buy it.
The Home Secretary.
Sorry, the Home Secretary.
I'm not sure David Cameron has commented, not least because he didn't quite know which football team he supported some years ago. But do you think that should fans be boycotting it then and not buying it?
I think good on them if they do, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I certainly wouldn't buy one, yeah.
And you also spoke in the week about sex education in schools. Now, let's just quote you, because I think you've expressed concerns about how young children are taught sex education. You've got a child yourself of primary school age. I don't want him and other children to learn about sex full stop, whether that's straight or gay. But you do think that sex education should exist at some point in schools?
Oh, yes, definitely.
When would you like children to be taught?
I think the first year of secondary school.
First year of secondary school. And what would you like them to be taught? Have you got objections to them being taught about heterosexual and homosexual sex? And what about transgender teaching?
I'm completely against, I think, teaching about transgender, especially at a young age, I don't want to confuse children. And I think, I've got no problem if people want to be transgender, life's short, be happy. But I think, we shouldn't allow any transition in while somebody's a child. I think when they're 18, they can do what they want. People can do what they want. But no, for sex education, why, not only as a parent, I've been speaking out about this, but I have had constituents, Camilla, where they're keeping their children from school and homeschooling because they feel they want to protect the children in that way at that young age. I don't know if you've seen some of the graphics of some of the teaching materials. It's really shocking.
What, for primary school children?
Yes, this is for the later years in primary school.
Who do you think is pushing this in the background?
I think it's the civil servants. When I was in the DfE for that short 4 months, I brought it up several times, and the senior civil servants said to me, we will write to every school to ensure that parents can have access, because what they're saying in the schools at the moment, they're saying that you can't have access because of copyright, but which is a load of rubbish. But when I was there, I kept pushing for it, but you needed the Secretary of States to push for it as well.
Yes.
And so that's why I asked in that debate, look, have all schools been written to about this since? And the minister said they have, which I'm pleased, but I'm still getting it. That's not filtering to every school.
But has the Department for Education been weak on a number of these issues, not just sex education, but also this idea that some schools have agreed to call children by a different gender and not even told their parents?
It's shocking. It's terrible.
That's a Department of Education problem as well as the civil service.
Completely, but definitely. And also, I've had 2 cases in the last few years, Camilla, where we had an 8-year-old child and an 11-year-old child, 2 separate cases, where the schools was trying to push the parents to accept different genders of that child. And I went on the side of the parents because, the state is not there to parent. Parents should parent. As they see wish.
You've also spoken quite a lot about the rise in far-left extremism.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about extremism, we talk about far-right extremism, which, of course, is a problem. What do you mean by far-left extremism, and how prevalent do you think it is?
Well, I think it's in every institution, actually, Camilla. We see it in the civil service. We've seen it in the Home Office, where they're trying to boycott the Rwanda bill.
But you say far-left. Isn't that overstating it? Others might describe it as liberalism.
No, but also look at the universities. What's happened in Leeds is awful.
You flagged real problems with pro-Palestinian protesters making life extremely uncomfortable for Jewish students at Leeds University. Funnily enough, it's my alma mater. I went studied law at Leeds, like Keir Starmer, of all people. You've written to that Vice-Chancellor.
Yes.
What have Jewish students been experiencing?
It's horrific, Camilla. And I cried, actually, when I was speaking to them. I met with some Jewish students, and in the main building, they've been putting Palestinian flags. Students have been chanting in front of Jewish pupils from the river to the sea. They told me that this hasn't been reported to the police because some of the staff members and lecturers are saying, well, we do not want to give the university a bad name and draw attention to it, so they're not reporting it. And no university student, nobody in life full stop should be fearful to be who they are.
The Jewish chaplain there, a rabbi, basically received death threats to him and his family. He had to go into hiding. We've then had graffiti daubed on the front of Hillel House, which is the sort of centre for Jewish students recreationally. You wrote to the Vice-Chancellor and requested an urgent meeting. Has he agreed to meet with you?
Yes. I mean, I got told by the MPs that he refused to meet. So that's why I went public with put it on social media and tagged them in, because I thought I need to hold them to account. This is too serious. And so I've got a response back that they're happy to meet. So I'll keep you informed.
And what will you be saying? I mean, do you want to say to them, look, we shouldn't have marches through campuses? Or marches anywhere, maybe, briefly, Andrea?
Well, the thing is, I don't want to see... When they're trying to intimidate the Jewish students, I think, look, don't put flags there full stop unless it's our British flag or something, our country flag. And they should seriously think of disciplining people if they're not behaving in a decent way.